I have a question for both of you, starting with you, Nick. We asked some of the younger DJs on previous episodes, how do you play if you're offered a early slot by Nick, or even Aaron in one of your parties? Like, I know we've talked about this before, but what would you tell a younger DJ who's just trying to get an opportunity? Maybe they have a style or something, but they just got put on a specific show of yours. How do you want them to play, or what's your advice there?
I can say, like, from personal experience, like there's been times where I've gotten like a gig, like I got to open for Glitch Mob. We did as Ghost Gardens. And you would think, Glitch Mob is like a bass music act. So you would think like they're gonna let me play like bass music, but like going into it, like their tour manager like reached out to me and he was like really adamant, like it has to be like super duper chill. Like this is exactly what we want. We want you to play like house music. And I was like, oh man, I got like this cool gig opening for Glitch Mob, and I really thought that I was gonna get to play, like I still plan to play chill bass music, but he kind of threw me a curveball and was like, this is what I want you to play. I was like, all right, that's fine. And for me as a DJ, a lot of DJs, maybe they do only play one genre. Like that's definitely, I don't only play one genre. Like I do bass music. I also like house music. I don't have a problem playing either one. So for me, I take it as a challenge. Like, hey, I'm going to stretch myself. Like I'm constantly trying to learn as a DJ. I would never think I'm at a point where I'm done learning, like, or that I'm, I would say that I've done enough hours that I could call myself an expert, but I would certainly say that I still have a lot to improve and I should constantly be learning. And so anyone that I offer a gig to, like, especially if they're new and they're starting out, I would hope that they would look at it as, the time slot is like an opportunity for them. And I can say that like a DJ that I've offered a time slot to play at like 8 o'clock and they come there and they play like if you come and like control the dance floor, it doesn't matter what style of music you play, whether you bring the people with you or whether you get the people that are sitting down at the front of the room to come and get on the dance floor, if you rock like the 10 people that are there and like control the dance floor, no matter what you play, I'm going to be impressed. So the style doesn't matter. But if you come and you play like so hard at like 8 p.m. that, even like your friends that you brought leave the room and go out to the patio because it's too loud, then obviously you're not controlling the room. So as a DJ, I think the answer is to just try to control the room and play to your audience. And if your audience, not to the extent that you need to take a request, but to the extent that you need to try to, captivate your audience and control them. I think that's one of my favorite things as a DJ is like, if you can get everyone's head nodding, at like the same tempo, or you can get everyone like, up out of their seats, then you're doing your job. It doesn't matter what you're playing. And like that extends to the fact that I've done a few weddings, and I can say, Mike, even you doing weddings. So I've probably done like 10 weddings, and most weddings that I've done, I make up for it. I bring lights, I bring sound, so I make it look pretty good for a wedding. It's usually for someone that I actually know, so I talk to them ahead of time, and then I've learned through experience that even if they tell you ahead of time, we just want you to do you, like play the music that you normally play. Like we don't need like normal wedding stuff. We're not into wedding stuff. If you get in the setting of you're at a wedding and you're playing someone's wedding and their grandma or their aunt comes up to you and they're like, do you have the electric slide? And you're like, unless they really said, do not play electric slide, you don't play electric slide. But if like you don't have the song that their aunt wants and you ruined their wedding, you ruined like someone's like biggest day of their life. So I learned you roll in there with the 500 top wedding songs, you have that shit on deck on the side in the computer. And even if the bride and groom told you that not to play that stuff, at a certain point, if the grandma or the aunt are saying that and the bride and groom are like, yeah, you better play it for my grandma. She really, really wants to see it. This is the only wedding I'm ever going to have for my grandma. If you don't have it, then you ruin the wedding. But if you have it, then like I'll play the electric slide all day. If that's the audience I'm playing for and the whole room is dancing and doing like dance moves and cohesion with each other, like then I did my job that day as a DJ. And I think that same thing would ring true at 8 p.m. And so for the DJs that I have had play an 8 p.m. set, I think most people, if they looked at it honestly and they look back, anyone that came at 8 p.m. and they controlled the shit out of the room, they definitely did not have to play at 8 p.m. their next slot. And they definitely got a later slot and they get to play whatever they wanted, just like they got to play whatever they want the first time. I never told anyone what to play, but I might get some guidance to like play the room or play the, you know, the amount of energy that is in the room. And I've also told people like, yo, bring 40 of your friends and play Tear Out at 8 p.m. I don't care if you bring 40 friends at 8 p.m. and they're all hype and hands in the air. Like, I'll be like, this dude's controlling it. Like, we should have put him at 11. Like, it'll happen. And like what Aaron's saying with the weekly, the same thing with me feeding off energy is also like bringing in new DJs who have that energy, and they're going to go out, and I can't get all of my 19, you know, I'm not 19 anymore. So I can't be like, yo, I need every single one of my friends to come support me this Friday night when I play my first gig or my second gig, or like, you know, I'm 2 years in and I'm really starting to make some waves. I really need
your 500th gig.
Well, I can get the kids that have lots of energy that want to be part. I can give them an opportunity to play on the stage and present, you know, their craft and what they've been working on and at home practicing to an audience. And back to what you're saying, Mike, about like what we can do right now, I'm trying to do the same thing with the live stream, still provide like an outlet. And I'm working. It hasn't really solidified, so I'm not going to say which artist, but we're trying to get some bigger artists to do the streams from the studio that we've been talking to, some like kind of more national act.
But Nick, I've been like nodding my head like the last 2 minutes after, not only from your wedding stuff, but just like what you were talking about. One of the questions I asked last podcast was, what if I'm, you know, a Hardwell style DJ? I only play EDM. I only do like, you know, bangers. You know, and someone said like, you know, your party's thump 8 o'clock, like that might be an okay thing. So it's kind of cool to hear you say that for them to control the room, but if they bring 40 people, like don't worry about banging out. So
no, they can yeah, like I said, they can bang it out if they bring the people. But I also want to really stress what I'm trying to say, which is that you should be trying to hone your craft and getting better at controlling the room. And like, even if that means like you only like banger, like Hardwell stuff, like you're still going to gain some experience as a DJ if you play a set of like Chill House or something and like just keep those beats for like 45 minutes. Like, then you never played Chill House, you only play Hardwell, like that's the only thing you've ever played, then I promise you that you're going to gain something experience-wise from playing like some Chill House or like a different style, whatever it is, techno. Like,
look at it. Look at Aaron, for example. Aaron, when he opened for Tiesto at Nationwide Arena and Tommy Trash, he earned that by playing proper sets during his career. You know, I really enjoyed that set, by the way.
To be fair, yeah, 100%. I think everyone in the city was there, and Aaron, we were all cheering for you that night, and you did a fantastic job. I couldn't tell you one song you played. I just remember the vibe being like whoever I was with him being like, he did a swell right now. He deserved that.
I had to actually give them a list of like the, you know, potential 20, 30 tracks that I might play to actually get on that. Like they made me have every track approved basically at that point. But just to add to like what Nick is saying, you know, it's time and place versus knowing the environment. You know, my biggest advice to any kid starting out DJing would be supporting where you want to be. If you like Nick's parties, support that. Get to know them. You like my parties, support us. Get to know us. You know, you're going to get a lot further, you know,
or support both,
helping out,
you know.
So hey guys, we got Ginsu in the chat, so gotta give a shout out to Ginsu, one of the legends.
Oh shit! What up, man?
Part of Ghost Gardens, right, Nick?
Yeah, it's the other half of Ghost Gardens.
Really quick, guys, I want you to answer. Oh, sorry. Before we get back on Ginsu, I want you guys to answer as quickly as possible. I just want to get for people to hear this. If I'm, you know, a Hardwell style DJ and I'm coming to one of you guys and I go, hey, Nick, hey, AUS10, this is what I play. Can I get an 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock spot the first time I'm coming out? Because this is what I play. I'm not interested in the chill sit. Like, this is what I do. This is what I produce. Are you guys willing to give them a shot at the midnight slot for their first show? Or do you think you have to earn it by playing the more controlled stuff earlier, as quickly as possible? We'll start with Aaron and go to Nick.
I think that you just to come in trying to demand a spot, like, I just don't know how that works, you know.
Say they're asking nicely. Say they're asking nicely.
Well, no, I
understand.
know, but I'm not saying demanding that. I'm just saying though, like being that's the only time, because part of the job of a promoter is to be able to program out the night. So it has like a peak, it has a start, and if you peak at 10 p.m. when you have 5 people in the bar and they're all like, you know, it doesn't necessarily help out. You end up sometimes losing people. But like Nick said, if they're controlling your crowd and doing an okay job, like keeping people there, never going to be mad at that, you know. But as far as just like some new kid and that's, you know, all he does,
it's a risk.
Yeah, better chance would be support them and give them a mix and say, this is what I do and here's a mix, you know, so that the promoter can make an educated decision on placement of them, you know, like, hey, I'll give you this chance, here you go, you know. And you know, like if it's a weekly like Nick does, or you know, like what I used to do, it's not the end of the world if the dude doesn't play the greatest set. You know, most of the people that are there aren't going to leave. They're there for the night, the environment, you know, maybe they're shooting pool, maybe they're chilling on the patio. So my advice would be, if that's your thing and all you want to do is tear out and just you bang it, get to know where you want to be, you know, because like, where can myself or Nick even put a set like that? For instance, like if say we're doing a show at Scully's or Forum or wherever, you know, it's like it takes time to kind of get to be able to do that, unfortunately.
That's a
Nick,
good point too.
Yeah, I agree. Loved all that.
Continue on from what James was saying, because I know, and honestly, this question applies to James too, because for our shows that we do at Dahlia, James is in charge of booking the support for that stuff. So he also knows that, you know, like what he's saying about it being a risk. If what you're saying from the premise of your question started with they've never played at one of my events in the past, we kind of have a solid rule that they have to. You know, the reason that I make people play and I ask people, when first someone comes to me, I say, you got to play at Thump, and you're probably going to have to play an early slot at Thump. After you play an early slot at Thump, if you do a good job, you know, you play to the room, bring a few people, I'll let you play a later slot at Thump, and or I'll put you on a lay boom. And it's a pretty solid thing. Like, I pretty much will give anyone a shot. If they play at least one Thump, I might make them play another Thump before I'm, like, confident in the fact that I can trust them to do a decent job. And then usually I'll still put them on an early slot at lay boom and expect them to play the room and either bring a crowd for their set or play to the people that are there and play proper. And even if you don't like have 50,000 friends that'll follow you out ravenously, if you come there and you play at 8 and you play just to the energy that's in the room / control the people that are in the room, you know, you're probably going to get a later slot on the next show, because, you know, we're going to, me, and I have a whole team too, and my team is going to join with me. We're going to say, this guy has good energy. We want to support this guy. We're going to give him another slot.
Goes back to what you were saying, Aaron, about just go to the spots that you want to be at to meet these people. Your following will grow. Your friends will start to come out and support just by going to those spots.
And if that doesn't work, there's the other side of it, right? Because I did this too. Nick kind of did this. Start your own event then and find out if that's what people want. You're going to find out real quick if you put yourself out there and go to a bar and you get a gig and you try to just play hardwell and you don't have your people there. You know, you got to realize that we've taken time to culture our groups, and like, you know, it's not an easy thing to do. You as well. You know, it's like you just can't expect somebody else's platform to 100% conform necessarily, I guess, is, you know.
And just to start with the original premise of your question, which is that, you know, they had never played one of our shows and they asked us, you know, I need to play at 11 o'clock. I need to play hardstyle. As a promoter, as James, you know, in charge of the support lineup, you know, whatever, we wouldn't be doing our job. We wouldn't, you know, if we're going to be a tastemaker, we wouldn't be implementing that. If we put someone on in a slot, we never seen them play. And never knew we can control the risk.
And anytime that you or Bryson sent me a name for a show, I'd most likely put it on it, because there's just so much credibility there. You know, so like you're going through all these younger DJs, I'm going through these DJs. So it's like we know what's going on. So like these younger.
There is like a dichotomy that I've learned from you and from your side of, you know, being a resident DJ at the club. Like you definitely know more than anyone that like sometimes you really have to play to the room, and it's not just about playing like Corrupt's like set list of like your favorite hits. Sometimes it's about like there's a bachelorette party here, I gotta play to them too. So,
yeah. And it took years to understand because, you know, when I first started playing and I wanted to play only what I wanted to play, I learned real quick that that wasn't working. And then I went on the other side where, you know, a promoter or owner is telling me what they want and I'm trying to please them. And then you finally find it where you can create a story with playing and sprinkling in what you want and still mixing in what they want. And then if you know, that's what I like to do. I love the open format side of things because I can give you a proper set and the people are like, wait, whoa, that was a crazy transition. Like, you know what I mean?
He trusts you, you know, whatever venues you work at, about PD at Dahlia, he trusts you. He knows that whether he's there or not,
yeah,
James is going to play the music for the room.
And PD is one of those guys that has offered newer DJs that had said that, or come in and they're like, hey, we're going to bring 50 people. And then PD's like, James, I want to take a chance on this guy on this Friday. And then 9 times out of 10, that guy that didn't earn their set, and this is just my opinion, threw down a bad set. You know, we didn't know the guy. He's never came in to support. He didn't know the room. The bottle buyers weren't happy. You know, there's always like something that happens.
I want to add to that. The one of the things that I, you know, have always said is my job as a promoter is to book people and promote. You know, the DJ's job is to play good music. Now, if the DJs can bring people, great. And there's a really good amount of awesome DJs here in town that probably don't get to play out as much as they want, just because of how things have kind of shifted here recently. But, you know, it's the DJ's job to play music technically, and it's our job along with the bars to do the marketing and the promotion, and, you know, hopefully they can help with that. But like you said, 9 times out of 10, that person that says, I'm going to bring 50 people, well, just because you bring 50 people doesn't mean you're a great DJ. Maybe you're a good promoter. Maybe you need to be on the promotional side of this to help, you know, and learn a little bit more and come back at it in another direction.
But tips for listeners, what's one secret to throwing parties that the audience hasn't heard before? And that last part is really important. I'm going to push you guys. If it's something I've heard before, I want to know your secret to throwing parties. One of them.
I mean, I think honestly, it's just a basic, obvious thing, which is that if you don't do the work to promote the party and get the people to come there, then they're not going to just show up naturally. So the secret is that as many people will probably be at your show as you put in work promoting it. So if you're like, I did an okay job, I don't know if that's a secret, but that's like the real actual, like if you're like, I worked my ass off and I put up flyers every single fucking day for the last month, and I spammed everyone on Facebook and I put it in every single group and I did everything I could possibly do, and your show still doesn't like go off at all, then you're, at least you know you did everything.
Right.
Hey, let's talk about what's on your checklist to promote a show. Maybe that'll be a good thing. Like, you know, let's start from everything that's on your checklist to
at least get the show announced minimum of a month ahead of time. That's if you can't get it a month ahead of time, it's not gonna work. As far as like lately, it's all digital ads. Digital ads is where it's at because you can super hyper specify and target people. Print ads are not really a big thing anymore. It used to be print ads. Honestly, when I first was doing this, I came out of like communications journalism degree. I did a lot of I did some ads and website and stuff for other businesses. It was print ads at that point in time. It was multi-$1,000 a week budget, like at least $700 a week budget to run ads for a half-page ad in like the Alive or something like that. I don't even think the Alive prints like an actual copy anymore, but that was every single club did like the $500 to $700 half-page ad in the Alive. Now it's like all online ads, if you ran $500 to $700 in a whole month for your event, then you probably spent plenty of money on advertising as far as like your actual advertising budget for most smaller events. Granted, I've done some events with only a $5,000 advertising budget, which is insane. But if you start adding radio in, which you have to do for like some really certain type name acts, then you're just spending like thousands of dollars at a pop. But the main thing I would say is, you know, digital ads, if you're bringing in precision, then you can pretty easily target like people that live in the area that might come to your show that like other bass music artists. So digital ads is the number one way to attract people to come to your shows. But you also got to do all the other stuff, like pass out flyers at other people's shows, go out and make friends, do weekly of your own, talk to people constantly all the time. I think what Aaron was saying is definitely part of what's helped me, like doing the weekly and connecting with the younger DJs that want to be openers on my shows has helped connect me to, like I said, that energy of people that like are just getting started DJing and, you know, have a rabid following of their friends that want to support them. Being connected to those people, like that's important to doing shows. You have to like be a part of the scene. You can't just be a stick in the mud and think that like everyone's going to come to you. You have to like go to them and not be a jerk. Don't be an asshole. If you cause a lot of beef and drama, like, and you start fights with people, that's not going to lead to conducive. Basically, don't talk shit on the internet ever. That should be something you should think about, like whether you're a DJ or whether you're like
a normal human being.
The internet, yeah, the internet is not a good place to talk shit. Don't say anything to someone on the internet you wouldn't say to their face. I don't know.
I would
All
say
right. I'll let you go. That was a good one. Definitely got a checklist of stuff. AUS10, take us.
I was going to, he kind of touched on it a little bit for me. Like promotion is a numbers game and you got to kind of look at it that way, right? So back in the day, it was all flyers and posters, maybe a little bit of word of mouth, but say you put out 5,000 flyers, you know, what's your return on that, you know, 2%. And I feel like even with the digital age, you know, like an invite sent out to somebody to an event is kind of the numbers game. You know, it's like the equivalent to the old school flyer. The more invites you get out there, the better chance somebody's going to see it. And same thing also with, you know, like the digital ads, like Nick is saying, once again, the more people you get in front of, the higher chance to get a better crowd. So you just got to kind of look at all that as numbers games of like, what's going to be your return for each thing, kind of figure out your niche of what works for you best, like flyering at other people's events or the digital marketing side, or is it blasting out Facebook events, or like he said, spamming every group. I know people probably hate it. I know I'm guilty of it. If you can get a good crew together to where they can space out that to not create user fatigue, then it's not so obvious. But I would say getting it in front of as many people as possible, you know, in that like 2 seconds of when they're flipping through on their phone or the flyer when they're walking out of the club, you know, that's the key.
I want to interrupt you guys real quick because I want to get into our last question. I know James has to go. What do you think so we talked about, hey, if you're that headliner or you only want to play headline and stuff, you could throw your own party. So there's only so many Saturdays in a year. There's only so many Fridays in a year. Do you think there's any etiquette amongst promoters to, like, what do you think is the correct etiquette? If I want to start throwing parties, do I talk to you guys and try to get, you know, in with you? Do I try and set different days? So many Saturdays? Do I try to do something different where if, you know, Nick's doing a bass show, Aaron AUS10's doing a tech house show, do I try to do a trance show? Like what do you guys think about when it comes to like other promoters getting into the game? And we got to go really, really quick. So let's start with Nick.
Just real fast, I would never tell anyone not to do a show. I'd never try and, you know, stop anyone from expanding and trying to be creative and do good stuff. So if that's what people want to do, you know, I think for both of our sake, for the sake of me and for the sake of them, if they try to connect with me ahead of time, we pick dates that aren't conflicting, you know, that's a positive. You know, there's always like, if I have a show at Dahlia and it's like house music and they're going to do a bass music show, we do it on the same night. It's not necessarily going to conflict in the same way if I have a really big dubstep act and they do a dubstep show. So just trying to build together and like communication more than even necessarily building, just communicate and be open about stuff where you can, where possible. You know, just to avoid conflict and try to work together, because honestly, even like if someone comes to me and says, I'm going to do a bass show on this Friday night, I'm going to try to avoid that date and try to make it work so that I don't do a show the same night as them. So that's what I would say, just communicate. And at the end of the day, though, you have to do your thing. I can't stop anyone. And what Aaron mentioned earlier is true for me. When I came up and I was first starting to DJ, nobody let anybody play on their weekly night. Like a few people let guests happen, but it was not like, oh, you're a new DJ, you've never played anywhere, I'm going to put you on and let you play at my night. That didn't happen like hardly at all. Not for shit. That was part of the reason why I started doing my own stuff, was because from hip hop, especially when I was trying to play hip hop, nobody wanted to let me play hip hop on their shows at all. And nobody wanted, it wasn't about whether it was me. Nobody wanted to let anybody else play on their shows. If someone had a show, they weren't like, I'm letting newbie dude come play on my show. That didn't happen 10 years ago in Columbus. So what I've tried to do the whole time with Thump, and there's been development, other people do the same thing now, but I always try to be like inclusive and let people, if they ask me to play, I'll be like, yes, I'm down to give you an opportunity to play. And I think that my legacy, if anything, like may not ever be that I'm a famous DJ, but in terms of Columbus DJ history, I may have a legacy at one point where people are like, that dude gave me my first gig. And I may have a lot of people who would say I gave them their first gig. I probably already do, but I think at some point it would be a really large number of people. And if they end up going on, one of those person ends up going on to be famous, then that'll be great. But also if just they do something that they love and make some friends from it, that's good too.
Love that, Nick. AUS10, you got 3 minutes.
So, forgot where I was going to go with that. What was the question again? Rejog my memory.
What is there a promoter DJ or a promoter etiquette? Like what should new promoters do to kind of make sure they don't upset the balance? Is there a balance? Talk about that a little bit.
I think anytime anything new is injected into an environment, it's going to be a bit of a shock. That doesn't mean you have to be an a-hole about it. You can, like he said, communicate. As far as, also coming up, like for myself, and I know a few other people too, one of the big things that helped me start to meet people to be able to go into doing stuff like that was somewhat the after hours scene. There's always holes. So if you can find that place to do that, you meet a lot of people. Usually if you're going to be playing, something that's more peak hour, it's going to be more widely accepted. Being social butterfly doesn't kind of help in that situation. I would say, just do what you got to meet as many people. And if you're going to, try to do something, you're going to have a following. So figure out how to build that up. And when you do it, nobody can knock you when you do it. At least you tried. Because there's a lot of DJs that sit there and complain that so-and-so won't ever give me a chance. Do something yourself. You make it happen yourself. Get in there and do it. So